Smart scales are obviously not new. They've been around for years, and I've been using them for at least 10 years or so, starting with the Fitbit Aria back in the day. But what makes them smart? Well, they usually connect to an app, and via that app, you're going to be able to record your weight readings and see how that trends over time. You'll see if you're gaining weight or losing weight over time. And that's really the point, right? And it just keeps all of that in one spot that you can pull up anytime you want. Some of them even record other things like body fat percentage and lean muscle mass. But the one we're talking about today is the BodyPedia Body Composition Smart Scale. And not only does this one track and record your weight readings, it's also recording and tracking 40 body composition data points specific to you. I'm talking neck, chest, and arm measurements. It also measures your waist and your legs. I'll talk about this more in a little bit, but it does this using these electrode handles that retract into the sides of the scale here. And you can see where you place your thumbs and your palms here. Make sure I put it back in right. It shows you what's up. I'm just not paying attention. That's up. There we go. That's up. And there we go. Now I've actually lost 24 pounds over the past 10 weeks or so. And I'll share how I've done that, but that's really not for this video. I'll share it if you watch all the way to the end. But since I've lost so much weight, I'm actually able to test whether the readings are accurate, right? Because in theory, as my weight trends down, all of my measurements should trend down as well. We'll talk more about whether the scale is accurate or not in a little bit.
All right, let me give you a quick demo. So the scale works just like any other electronic scale. You stand on it and it measures your weight. But again, this scale gives you a lot more data than just your weight. It generates a report with those 40 body composition data points I just mentioned. What you do is you open the BodyPedia app and then step on the scale. Once the app records your weight, it'll prompt you to pull out those electrode handles. In order to get your reading, you have to stand just like the example provided in the app. So you'll need good posture here. And make sure your thumbs are on the top and the long electrode is resting in your palm. Just really have to grab it. Now, when my hands are too dry, the electrodes won't conduct. So I actually have to lick my thumbs to get a little moisture, and that always does the trick. And I found that I have to adjust every single time to make sure I'm holding the handles at the right angle. Doesn't take long to get it right though. And this is what you'll hear when the reading is complete. Now you can check the app for the results of everything that was measured. All right, let's take a look at my own personal data. Now I'm gonna blur some of this out because y'all don't really need to see all of that. You don't need to see my weight and all that stuff, man. But anyway, as you can see here, you're gonna get your weight at the top, and then it takes all of the data elements and calculates what your ideal weight is. Now I kind of feel like BMI is considered heavily into this because the ideal weight they indicate for me is kind of low, I think. Then you can see it tells you whether you gained or lost weight from the prior day and how much you need to lose to hit your ideal weight. Now down at the bottom, you see here, you get your weight, of course, you get body fat percentage, water percentage. And by the way, when you click into each of these, you get more details, such as where exactly you fall on the scale, which ranges from under, normal, or over. And you also get an explanation of what the data element actually measures. So let me show you water. I think that's the one I wanted to show you. Yeah. So you can see here, water percentage is based off of muscle mass, right? And you can see that description down there that provides that additional detail because I didn't know, and that was helpful. All right. You also get protein, minerals, body shape, BMI, visceral fat, and basal metabolic rate, or BMR, or basal metabolic rate, potato. That's an important one, which gives you the amount of energy your body burns when you're at rest. So this is what you burn when you're not exercising. Now, edema evaluation is paired with water percentage. Just click on that. So you can see there it's paired with water percentage, but the app doesn't really explain what it is. I looked this up via Google, and according to the Cleveland Clinic, edema is the medical term for swelling caused by fluid trapped in your body's tissues. And it mainly happens in your feet and ankles and legs, but it can affect other parts of your body as well. It's basically inflammation caused by things like medications, if you're pregnant, poor nutrition, etc., etc. Then lastly, they give you a BodyPedia score, which is on a scale from poor, average, and strong. Again, no explanation is provided for how that is determined, but the app says a muscular person, and I'll click in there. It says a muscular person might end up with a score that's higher than 100 points. So muscle mass must factor pretty heavily into this number. Now, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this graph icon. If you click on that, you'll get trending graphs on your weight, body fat percentage, and skeletal muscle mass. And it's nice that this is here, but I honestly don't find it very useful. I think the data points are stretched out too far or something. You can change this from monthly to yearly. And you can kind of see the trend, but it's not very prominent. But with that said, let me show you how to sync with Apple Health if you're an iPhone user, of course, because this is the best way to see your data trends. All right, so you're gonna open Apple Health, then click on your profile picture in the upper right-hand corner, scroll down to apps, and then you're gonna go to BodyPedia, and then you're basically gonna do turn on all. I already have mine already turned on, so it's saying turn off all, but you're gonna turn on all. And once you do that, every time you use the scale, your readings are gonna automatically feed into Apple Health, which is an awesome way to see how you're trending over time. For example, you can see how my BMI fluctuates every day, but when you pull out to 6 months, you can clearly see whether you're trending up or down. And that goes for weight and all the other measurements. It's natural and normal to see fluctuations daily. So much goes into your weight. I know some people don't believe in weighing themselves daily. I do, because it keeps this top of mind. If I only do it once a week, that does not work for me. But do whatever works for you. But like I said, it's normal to see fluctuations even up to a pound or 2. I take creatine because I'm doing strength training. Creatine, it causes you to retain, glucose and water in your muscles. Well, that's going to cause you to gain a little weight, right? It all kind of adjusts over time, but I recently noticed that I had a little uptick in my weight because I stopped taking creatine regularly. I started back and I said, oh, okay, that's probably what it's attributed to. So those are the type of insights you can have by weighing yourself daily and looking at the data, just like I'm showing you here in Apple Health. Very, very useful. And like I said, you'll get the same thing for weight, body fat percentage, lean muscle mass, and waist circumference. All right, we're about to talk about how accurate the scale is, but first I want to show you some additional information you can get from the app. I mentioned it before, but I want to show you this so you can see body fat mass. You can see this here. It's going to show you whether you're over or under or normal for your body mass. It doesn't rate your head, so you won't know if you have a fat head or not. Okay, that's terrible. Anyway, so next, muscle mass. You can see here Looks like I'm normal here all the way across the board in terms of segmental lean analysis. You can see the measurements of each arm, your trunk, and each leg. And then this is one I find very, very useful and enlightening: body circumference. So it's giving you your neck measurements, both arms, your chest, your waist, both legs, and your hip. And it's giving you your hip or waist to hip ratio as well. So a lot of useful information in here. And again, some of this even syncs over to the Apple Health app. I know waist definitely does, your weight, your BMI, and I forget the other, I think muscle mass as well. So you can see how that's trending over time. Now, we're going to talk about accuracy, because one of the important things about this, right, is it accurate? Is it measuring things accurately or not? And I have an interesting take on that as well, but we'll talk about that more in a second. All right, is the scale accurate or not? Now, the website says the scale has a 97% measurement accuracy. Okay, so I took my own neck, arm, and waist measurements using a tape measure, and you actually get one included with the BodyPedia scale. So it's almost like they're encouraging you to, fact check them. But I compared my measurements to the BodyPedia measurements, and I'm not going to tell you that it's spot on, but it's hard for me to say it's not very, very close. Close enough to minimize my own skepticism. But here's how I think you have to consider this. As long as the scale is consistent, you can place reliance on it, right? What I mean is, as your weight trends down, your other measurements should also trend down. And that's been my experience so far. These devices, the wearables, Apple Watches, Fitbits, all these different devices, Garmin's, most of them, if not all of them, have some kind of an error rate, right? But as long as they are consistently inaccurate, you know what I mean? Consistently off by that 3% or whatever it is, as long as that's consistent, you can take your results to the bank. That's just how I look at it. You'll recognize right away if something is just way off from what it's supposed to be. Now, the other cool thing about this is you can have multiple users using the scale. So you can have multiple users using the scale. My wife also uses it. She connects to the app on her own phone, and she's been losing a good amount of weight as well and seeing those downward trends in the Apple Health app. And I'll tell you, it's really encouraging and motivating to see the effort that you're putting forth. It's great to see results from those efforts. All right, so I told y'all if you watch to the end, I'll tell you a little bit more about my weight loss. So I lost 24 pounds, and for the past, 5 to 7 years or so, my sort of standard default lifestyle has been low carb, so protein and a vegetable. That's been my saying: protein and a vegetable. You can ask my wife. That's all what I always say, and how I always try to formulate my plate of protein and a vegetable. Now, granted, I would have, carbs and starches and things like that, fruits and all these other types of foods in moderation. But as a standard default way of eating, just as a standard lifestyle, not a diet, protein and a vegetable. Well, I got to a place where I wasn't maintaining my weight anymore. I started to actually gain weight, and I couldn't figure out why. So I don't know how I stumbled upon it, but I ended up researching the carnivore diet. Now, some of you may remember the Atkins diet. And I remember thinking it was just the craziest thing, fad diet, the dumbest thing you could do. Everybody knows that red meat and eating a lot of meat is unhealthy. It'll raise your cholesterol and your blood pressure and all of that, on and on and on, right? And Atkins, it was just predominantly protein, meat. But I think his whole concept was protein and vegetable. I think that's where I got it from. Well, anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm going to try to make this as succinct as possible, you guys. Well, carnivore
is way to the extreme of that because carnivore is only meat, right? Now there's variations. So when I say meat, I mean red meat, pork, poultry, chicken, and fish. Those are all allowed, and dairy to some extent, mainly eggs, right? Now there's some other variations. There's the lion, there's the um, dirty carnivore, and there's all these different variations. But for me, it's very simple. My meal, for the most part, is either beef, for the most part, pork, chicken, salmon, or some other type of fish. Um, I do have cheese occasionally, eggs, if I didn't say that. And I do have a little almond milk every now and then in my coffee. I do have black coffee pretty much every day. On the weekends, I'll treat myself and my wife to a homemade iced shaken espresso with heavy cream, no carbs there, and a little splash of almond milk and some sugar-free either caramel or vanilla syrup. Now, that's one exception I make on this. You're really not supposed to do that. It's really strictly supposed to be all meat. Now, anyway, now I hesitate to tell people I'm doing this because I don't really want to encourage anyone to do it because I'm a guy on YouTube. You need to do your own research, right? I did all my research. I had a lot of reservations and hesitations and skepticism about it. But the more I dug into it, I said, let me go ahead and give it a try. I have never felt better. I thought I was going to feel heavy, weighed down, bloated, gassy, all of those things. And it is the exact opposite. I never feel bloated, even when I eat a lot at one time. I never feel bloated. I rarely have gas. Um, oh, and the other thing that I always had concerns about was the lack of fiber and what that would do to your digestion. Now, granted, I don't go as frequently as I did, incorporating fiber, but I have to tell you, I do go regularly. So, I'm going to stop talking because I could talk about this stuff forever ad nauseum, but I did want to share this since I mentioned I would. I've been doing the carnivore diet for about 10 weeks now. So 10 weeks. So I've lost 24 pounds. Wow, that's 2.4 pounds a week. That's pretty good. It's kind of leveling off a little bit, but I have a goal to lose. I think I want to lose another 16. Another 16 pounds is what I want to lose. I'm actually sitting outside of Planet Fitness right now. I'm getting ready to go in. So to do some strength training. But anyway, thank you for watching to the end. Let's go ahead and close out the video. Oh, let me know down in the comments if you want me to do a follow-up video and talk more in detail. This channel, this is the Gadget Inspector channel, but I do incorporate health gadgets into the content as well. But I don't make that like the primary thing. But if you want to hear more about this, maybe I'll consider doing another video. So just let me know. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If so, hit me with a like. And if you're into this type of content, so I'm mainly into gadgets, but I'm also into healthy living. So I try to incorporate health gadgets into the content here. So if you're interested in that, get subscribed because you'll likely see more content like this on the channel. And if you know anybody else that you think would benefit from this information or find this video useful, share it with them. That would help me out a lot. And as always, be good to somebody, be good to yourself.